Streaming on YouTube, and we have audio and video ready when you are.
Okay, I'll call this meeting of the Seward City Council to order. It's 7 p.m. on Monday, July 22nd, 2024. Chief, would you please lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, when you're ready, could you please call the roll?
Roll call for tonight's meeting. Finch?
Here.
Osenga?
Here.
Calhoun?
Here.
Wells?
Here.
Barnwell?
Here.
Kreitz?
Here.
And Mayor McClure.
Here.
Okay, you have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. We now have citizens' comments on any subject except items scheduled for public hearing. We do have one public hearing item tonight, and there's a sign-in sheet for that, but if you didn't sign in, I can take a show of hands in order. You'll have 3 minutes. There's a 36-minute total aggregate for this, and when you come up to speak, there's a chair there and a microphone, and we need your name and if you live inside or outside the city limits. Mr. Clerk, has anyone signed in?
Yes, there are 4 people signed in to speak, and first on the list is Kevin Quitberg.
Just for the 5 minutes at the end.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Next on the list is Derek Abels.
Okay. Should be
All right,
on.
my name is Derek Abels, and I live outside the city in Kenai. So, Mayor, council members, I'm the airport manager in Kenai, and I'm here to recommend adoption of Resolution 2024-40. It's a Kenai Small Community Air Service Development Grant Proposal, otherwise known as SCASD. And for residents of the peninsula, establishing direct flights from Kenai to Seattle promises a lot of benefits to the community. Shortens travel times, offers an alternative to other airports for flights, reduces travel costs, especially for families. And it also stimulates economic growth. And to achieve this goal, the first step was performing a leakage study, which we did. And the results were that over 800 people traveled daily by driving to Anchorage from the peninsula area studied. Kenai passengers paid far above the national average for a one-way ticket at $729. And our top destination was Seattle-Tacoma area, where it could support 69 passengers a day, which is enough to fill a flight. So there's a market for it. With this data, our next step is to talk to air carriers. This is where the SCASD grant is coming in and what we're applying for and asking for you guys to support. It's important to note that the SCASD funds do not come from the federal income tax. Instead, they are sourced from the Airport and Airways Trust Fund, which collects over $11 billion annually. So this money is going to go to various airports one way or another. So that's why we're putting in this grant and hopefully help out the Kenai Peninsula. And then if we're awarded this, we plan to use it for revenue guarantee. So that takes the risk away from an airline. So if there's a lot of business and they make money, then they don't have to take the money. They won't get the money, but it's a guarantee that it's there and takes the risk away. So it's attractive to airlines. So in conclusion, establishing this direct air service from Kenai to the lower 48 will provide more efficient travel options for residents and alleviate congestion on the Seward and Sterling highways, which is very important. It's a boost for the local economy as well. So I respectfully request your support for the resolution, and I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I think we're good. Thank you.
Thanks much.
Thank you.
Mr. Clerk.
Russ White.
Hi, Russ White, outside city limits. It's been a while, but I wanted to come and update you on sports and rec and what we've been up to and what we got coming up. Tomorrow, the AvTech gym opens back up for 5 days a week for the rest of the summer, Tuesday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. And what we've been up to lately with the gym being closed, we did a kids adventure camp where we had 12 kids aged 11 to 14. For a week, we did different activities. We went up to Lost Lake and Tonsina. We also spent a night at Manitoba Cabins with them and went paddleboarding out in Portage River. And yeah, it was a super success. And we had Metco and JAG that helped support it to help pay for all the costs of that. We also have soccer league going on right now, Tuesdays and Thursdays. We have 90 kids signed up for that, and that ranges from ages 3 to 18. And this weekend we had our Camp Stove cook-off. It was a little bit of smaller participation, but always a fun event. And we raised $90 for the food pantry. Upcoming, I wanted to get the word out about our strength training classes and athletic performance training for teens. Ryan Bringhurst, he's done a few of these classes for us, and he's back, and that'll be Tuesdays and Thursdays for the strength training, and Wednesdays and Friday for the athletic performance training. Both of those are 3 to 4, and we'll go for 8 weeks, starting the first week in August. Kids Ballet is back, being taught by Alyssa Holcomb, and that's going to start August 17th on Saturdays for kids ages 3 to 12. And it'll be 10 to 10:45 for the younger folks, and then 11 to 12 for the older kids. And then the last thing, I really wanted to get the word out. We're excited about this. First time we're doing a Senior Adventure Social. That'll be August 11th through the 13th, 3 days. We'll get 8 senior citizens, and we're trying to get them out and just exploring and be social if they are looking for something to do. And we're gonna do pack rafting one day, hike another day, and we're still figuring out the third day, but wanted to get the word out about that because we're looking for sign-ups pretty soon. Yeah, I think that covers everything I wanted to say. So thanks for letting me speak.
Thank you for all you do. Mr. Clerk.
Dion Quitberg.
I do mine at the end before
Is there anyone, that was all that signed in, right?
That is correct.
Is there anyone else that wants to speak at this point? Just got to raise your hand. Okay, seeing none, I'll close this portion and move to the approval of the agenda and the consent agenda. And I'd ask for a motion in a second, please.
I'll move for approval of tonight's agenda and consent agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Are there any changes anyone would like to make? Okay, seeing none, Mr. Clerk, we're ready to vote.
Voting on the approval of tonight's agenda and consent agenda, Rosenga,
Yes.
Finch,
Yes.
Barnwell,
Yes.
Kreitz,
Yes.
Calhoun,
Yes.
Wells,
Yes.
and Mayor McClure.
Yes.
Okay, your agenda and consent agenda have been approved, and approved on the consent agenda were the July 8th, 2024 City Council meeting minutes, introduction of ordinance 24-011, amending Seward City Code 8.05.045 hours of sale for alcoholic beverages, the introduction of ordinance 24-012, amending Seward City Code Title III Personnel Anniversary Date Definition, Resolution 2024-040, signing on to Joint Resolution 2024-001 of the Assembly of the Kenai Peninsula Borough to support the City of Kenai in their endeavor to get direct flight service to Seattle. And lastly, there were no grounds for protest for the hotel and motel endorsement of the liquor license for the Fifth Avenue Bistro and Bar.
Okay, thank you very much. Next on our agenda is the city manager report. Madam City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would first like to say thank you to Parks and Rec for another cool Camp Stove cookout. I came in a resounding last place, I believe, with my burritos, but next year I will do better. We got some exciting news from the House, the United States House, for the Department of Homeland Security. They have appropriated an additional $17 million for the Seward FRC project across the bay. Last year, Congress appropriated $25 million, but the design build came in at $42. So this is one of the big talking points when we were down in DC earlier this year, and we're excited to see that move forward and progressing with that additional funding. So very exciting.
Could you tell people what FRC is?
FRC stands for Fast Response Cutter, so it's a new type of Coast Guard ship. They're phasing out the type of Coast Guard ships that are currently in Seward and moving towards having FRCs, Fast Response Cutters, across the Coast Guard fleet. So that's an exciting movement in that front to see that $17 million appropriated. We have also already sold that land to them, so the land is purchased. This is for design build of the dock and other things as well. And then one of the big things that happened last week, you may have all noticed that we had about 2 power outages on Thursday. And this was following a cutover from the Fort Raymond substation that happened when we successfully energized a new transformer. So all of our upgrades and transformer infrastructure project at the Fort Raymond substation is complete, which is very exciting. But with that, there was some configuration technical issues that happened. So we experienced 2 system-wide outages after small blips in the system that normally would just go without note, but because of this configuration issue, it caused those outages. So we apologize to everybody that inconvenienced, but we have solved that problem, and we will have a power outage again, but it won't be for that reason. That won't happen again. And alongside the work at Fort Raymond, the crews have been diligently installing new services, keeping up with locates, and conducting routine maintenance. So a big thank you to the electric crew and everybody for responding quickly to that outage.
I have a, could you explain or just state the use of our, I got some calls, why didn't we turn on the generators? And the generators tend to be turned on when we're not able to fix the problem within a period, right?
Yeah, so turning on the generators is a very costly move on our part. So if we find the problem and the outage within and know that we can fix it in a relatively short amount of time, we won't turn it on. Usually the generators are turned on for a bigger issue like an outage or a transmission line down out in the woods that's going to take some time to get to, or something that's going to take a few days to repair, so that we're not without power for a few days. If we're without power for a few hours, the more cost-effective use of our time would be to solve the issue rather than passing on the price of fuel to our ratepayers.
Thank you. Yeah, I got some calls on this. Questions, comments? Councilmember Barnwell.
On the FRC for the Coast Guard, have they talked about the timeline on getting the FRC to Seward, or is that?
We don't have any update on the timeline, but the funding is very promising for a quicker timeline because it removes just another one of those hurdles along the way. So once we have an update on timeline, I'll be sure to share that, but it's an exciting step in the right direction.
Okay. Other questions? Councilmember Calhoun.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I've got actually not so much questions. A couple of those and a couple of requests. One thing that I would like to see after we've had a work session on it and haven't gotten any real feedback yet, I'd like to see a Providence financials, maybe with an end date of June 30th. That should be available or made available to us. Because I think we need to see where we're at with that. Also, our DRP program, I would like an update on where we're at with the different DRPs. We had 3, I think, and it'd be nice to get an accounting of those 3 and where we stand with them and how much money's been paid out and what's come back as properties sell and that kind of thing, as that program works. Also, I've noticed that the GLK float city still has $679,244 sitting in it. And I'm wondering how soon that's going to go back to the harbor fund, since that's in excess of something I think that's already complete.
GK and L floats. Okay, great.
And the last thing is, because we did also have a work session on the electric infrastructure project, and obviously the financial director, and you were not there at the time, and we didn't really get any good financials on it. I'd like to get a report back on where we're at with that, because it appears that we may have enough money to complete that project, or close to it, but it'd be nice to get a report on that and find out where we're at.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay.
Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much for your report. And we have a city clerk report on page 12 with some important information for the people.
Yes, thank you. The clerk report in the packet outlines the filing period for the council vacancies, which are coming up in October, and the filing period is August 1st through the 15th. And we will be releasing the packet of paperwork soon, maybe in the next couple of days. We should have it online and out to the public for anyone who's interested in throwing their hat in the ring.
And can you mention that there are 2 council seats?
There are 2 council seats. Councilmember Calhoun and Vice Mayor Osenga seats are expiring in October.
Okay.
And then I'd also like to speak to this table here with the awards on it. These gold pans and that cup are part of an award exchange that we do with Japan. So they send us the Mount Marathon awards, which went straight to the chamber. We didn't have a chance to show them off here beforehand, but that last remaining one is for the Salmon Derby. And then in exchange, we send them a couple gold pan awards for events in Kashiro and Obihiro. And then that banner is something that Karen designed to use for any group photos in the near future with that delegation of visitors.
Whip out the banner.
Yep, exactly.
Nice. So after we're done here, take a look at those. They're really nice. Thank you. So next we have presentations. There's just one, and it's the Alaska Small Business Development Center Annual Report. And we have Kellyanne and
Cliff Cochran.
Cliff Cochran. So Cliff, you're still on the phone?
There he is.
I'm here.
Okay.
Good evening.
So you'll have a 10-minute report.
Excellent.
And you can start anytime. I can see.
Getting fired up over here. All right, here we go. All right, good evening, everyone. I'm here to provide our fiscal year 24 annual report for the Alaska Small Business Development Center. And so kind of about us. So the Alaska SBC was organized in 1986, almost 40 years ago. We are hosted by the UAA Business Enterprise Institute, and we receive funding from the Small Business Administration, the state of Alaska, local governments like Seward, and other supporters. We're also accredited by America's SBDC, and so what that means is that every few years a team from our trade organization in Richmond, Virginia comes out to Alaska and closely examines our work. It's a challenging process meant to ensure we're providing a quality product in Alaska. The accreditation team visited Seward in May 2023 and remarked that this was an excellent model that should be replicated in smaller communities with a robust economy nationwide. So that was great. An overview of what we provide. So we provide no-cost, confidential business advising services. That's kind of our big ticket item. We also provide low-cost business workshops and webinars. Some of our workshops are taught by professional adjuncts, such as an attorney providing an LLC course, and we just forward their fees onto the participants. And then, of course, we provide no-cost resources and business tools. And those are the 3 kind of main areas we'll talk about tonight. So here's a look at for business advising. Here's a look at the top topics for fiscal year 24 for Seward. We're kind of the startup system experts. We help folks determine the feasibility of a business model and then a step-by-step process on how to get that started. That was our biggest item in Seward, Kellyanne. Number 2 was buying and selling businesses. Kellyanne's become a bit of an expert in that field, even putting together a workshop for us this last year. So that was our number 2 item. That was followed by general management, which is like troubleshooting existing businesses, financing and capital. Some of the other areas include business planning, marketing, and legal issues. So SBC advisors are not qualified to provide legal advice, but we provide guidance on when legal advice is needed, such as the drafting and operating agreement for a multi-member LLC. This slide talks about the top industries that Kellyanne provided guidance to during fiscal year 24 in Seward. Obviously, our biggest area is food services, like kind of a long shot, followed by accommodations. Next was retailers on the list, followed by tour guides. And so what's great about this is it kind of shows that the industries that Kellyanne's been providing assistance to in Seward kind of match what's prevalent in Seward. Also, Kellyanne has experience in 3 of the top 4 industries in Seward, with the Flamingo and food services, salted routes, and accommodations, and their long-time background, major marine and tour guides. So it's great to have someone on the ground in Seward who really understands how to make small business work in these industries. This next slide talks about kind of the breakdown of how clients prefer to meet with Kellyanne in Seward. This obviously doesn't include short phone calls or emails, but when there's a kind of back-to-back dialogue taking place, over 2 out of 3 clients in Seward prefer to be in person versus online. So again, really important to have someone over there in Seward providing these services. Next, we have workshops. And so the Alaska SBC provides over 80 workshops. These include anything from basic topics like starting a business, how to get a business license in Alaska, all the way to more complex topics such as LLCs in Alaska, which is taught by an attorney. A year ago, Kellyanne actually set the all-time Alaska SBC record for attendance at a starting a business workshop in Seward, with 31 attendees at a starting a business at HavTech. So that was really cool to see a smaller community kind of top Anchorage and Fairbanks, and that's a theme that we'll probably hear throughout the presentation. Resources, so we have proprietary tools such as financial projection models. These were developed in-house. They're used by nearly all the lenders in Alaska. Kind of made their way down to the lower 48, and lenders in the Pacific Northwest are using them as well. Kellyanne's become an expert with these, and they help folks crunch the numbers to determine if their business model is feasible. We have business plan guides, focused industry toolkits. Some of those focus kits are features of how to start a salon in Alaska, how to start a construction company, how to start a childcare business, and these are for industries that require a little more attention than, say, starting our basic business up without professional licensing or bonding, insurance, different requirements outside the norms. And so we have focused toolkits to support those folks. We also have a business valuation guide for folks looking to buy or sell. It kind of gets the process going and helps with setting expectations. We also have small business FAQs as well to help with answer quick questions. So my favorite resources are, we have a subscription to IBISWorld. It's the global leader in industry intelligence. They have over 700 industry reports updated every 6 to 12 months. These reports retail for nearly $1,000 each. Our subscription to IBISWorld is $15,000 a year, and we provide these reports to clients for free. So these are fantastic reports, latest and greatest in the industry, and it really helps clients get going or adjust their business model. We also have our ProfitSense subscription. ProfitSense is the national leader for industry benchmarking. It provides ratio analysis and even business evaluation capabilities using the discounted cash flow method, which is one of the better ways to value your business. If someone is to approach ProfitSense, they have to pay $27.50 for one of these reports. Our subscription is nearly $5,000, and we provide these reports to clients for free. So a lot of value from these two that you can't get off of Google. You have to have a paid subscription, and we provide these to all of our clients free of charge. And so taking a look at the results, so what is our impact been in Seward? Well, Kellyanne's been in Seward for 2.5 years, and these are her numbers of what she's done. They've been quite remarkable, and so she's provided nearly 1,400 hours. She's supported 186 clients. She's helped 32 new businesses get started or purchased. She's supported nearly 600 jobs. Clients, since working with her, have reported a $6.3 million increase in sales altogether. That works out to around $30,000 a client. Capital infusion, that's Kellyanne helping folks get loans, grants, equity investments. she's enabled folks to get 18.8 million. And kind of the biggest thing is that in the last 2.5 years, of those 186 clients she's worked with, not a single one has submitted a negative survey response to her. She's had 100% positive surveys, which is quite incredible. So looking back at the goals that were set for this position in Resolution 2021-91, Kellyanne has achieved 330% of those goals, which is quite remarkable. And speaking of the surveys, so here's, we have a section where clients can enter things that can be improved. Really, we almost exclusively had glowing reviews from Kellyanne. So they said things like so much insight and direction, a treasure trove of relevant and insightful information, everything I needed to know, top-notch service, huge difference helping me get my business back on track. And lastly, Raymond Smith said, I wish I would have done this years ago. So we've seen that in a lot of surveys for Kellyanne. Folks wish they would have done this a long time ago, which is great that they're doing it now. Here's a look at the year-over-year comparison for Kellyanne's work. And so 2021 was the last year we did not have a business advisor in Seward. And you can see the 3 years that Kellyanne's been there, numbers have just continued to increase. She's done a remarkable job and has done a great work in Seward. So this past year, one of Kellyanne's work was a Run Startup Week. And nearly 100 local entrepreneurs attended Startup Week, which is kind of a big deal for a small community. Her Meet Your Lenders event, which featured 8 lenders from across the state, was the first event that was statewide that was moderated from Seward, which is pretty neat. Pitch Fest, which is similar to Shark Tank, featured 5 presentations from entrepreneurs looking to launch a business model. And Seward Startup Week ended up having the most events provided by a community in Alaska outside of Anchorage and Fairbanks, which is really cool. Kellyanne put a lot of work into the Startup Week, and it was very well received. So some of our clients agreed to release success stories on the work we've done with them, and so Charity Lehman from Shearwater Cove said that Kellyanne was and continues to be an amazing resource to small businesses in Seward. Trent LaFleur said, we are so grateful for the SPC support, both for us and our business community here in Seward. Sarah with Seward Yoga said, our advisor Kellyanne provided invaluable support, helping us turn our vision for Seward Yoga into a reality. And Natalie Norris said, her knowledge and guidance have introduced us to commercial lending institutions and helped us to make better financial decisions. So here's a look at our budget, and we're putting this up because this is the 3rd of 3 years for Kellyanne's contract. We're hoping to get their contract renewed, starting January 1st this next year. And so the total budget for the position, including salary, benefits, payroll, taxes, travel, professional development, ends up being $120,000. It's shared by the city, the chamber, the borough, and then the federal and state match the rest to make up the difference. So that's a look at the budget. That concludes our presentation. Are there any questions?
Timing is everything, wow. Questions from council? It was very thorough, very good work, very exciting. Yeah, just congratulations and thank you for the report.
Thank you, we appreciate it. Great work, Kellyanne. She's had a remarkable year.
Good job. Okay, thank you. We had a lot that stayed on the consent agenda, so it takes us down to item number 8, public hearings. We have one ordinance for enactment. It's ordinance 2024-010. Mr. Clerk, would you please read that in?
Ordinance 2024-010, amending Seward City Code, Title III, Personnel.
Okay, and it's on page 43 of the packet if you're reading along. I'd need a motion to enact and a second, please.
I'll move for the enactment of ordinance 2024-010.
I'll second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Administration, would you like to speak to this first?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This ordinance amends Seward Code Title III, which is personnel, and allows a temporary employee to work more than 9 months in a calendar year. Currently, we have it set up so a temporary employee works 9 consecutive months and then has to wait until that calendar year is over to work an additional 9 consecutive calendar months. So this change would make it so that you can work 9 months, have a break of service, and then start an additional 9 consecutive months. This is just due to the changing nature in hiring. A lot of people that want to work for our departments, like the police department or Parks and Rec, actually want to have more of a temporary position, but they don't want to have to disappear for 3 months of the year. They want to come back for an additional 3 months or an additional 9 months without having that full permanent status. We also put in some caveats in there to make sure that this would never replace a permanent position, so that there isn't a person who's stuck on temporary that might potentially be a better fit for full employment if that position was available. So this just helps make us able to keep really good employees on their schedule a little bit.
I'll go ahead, I'll go to you now. Mr. Clerk, there was a change you'd like to make just as a...
Yeah, I just wanted to make council aware, we caught a typo earlier today on the first whereas of this ordinance. The word consecutive should not be there. So it should read, to allow temporary and seasonal employees to work more than 9 months in a calendar year.
Okay, and can we just make that as a...
Housekeeping.
Housekeeping?
I can say that would be a housekeeping one because it simply wasn't intended to be there.
Is there any objection to that? Okay, so go ahead and make that change. And did you have anything else before we open the public hearing?
No.
Okay, I'll open the public hearing on ordinance 2024-010. Mr. Clerk, has anyone signed in?
Nobody has signed in for this one.
Okay, is there anyone out there that would like to speak to this? You'll get 5 minutes speaking to this. I see none. So I will close the public hearing and bring it back. So we've made that change. Is there any discussion other than that from council? This sounds like a good idea to me, so are we ready to vote on it then? Looks like we're ready to vote, Mr. Clerk.
Voting on the enactment of ordinance 2024-010. Barnwell,
Yes.
Wells,
Yes.
Finch,
Yes.
Osenga,
Yes.
Calhoun,
Yes.
Kreitz,
Yes.
and Mayor McClure.
Yes.
Okay, that ordinance has been enacted.
Okay. Next we have, under unfinished business, under resolutions, Resolution 2024-010, which might be confusing. They're the same number, but one was an ordinance. This is a resolution. Caught me earlier. Mr. Clerk, would you please, when you have a chance, read?
Yeah, that's an unfortunate coincidence there, caused some confusion. Resolution 2024-010, approving the city manager to enter into a contract with Tyler Technologies to provide computer-aided dispatch, CAD, and report management software, RMS, to the city of Seward for an initial cost of $101,360 and an annual recurring cost of $73,856 and appropriating funds. And this was postponed back in February 12th, 2024.
Okay, thank you, and you'll find that on page 48 of the packet. So we don't need a motion because it's already on the table, and it was postponed. Madam City Manager, what you got?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So administration is actually going to recommend that the council fail this resolution following to the postponement. We've done a bit more research into it. So we would like the council's permission to bring back a new resolution for computer-aided dispatch. So our recommendation is to fail this resolution and, per your permission, bring back a new resolution at a meeting date as soon as possible.
Okay, thank you. So is there discussion? You might recall that we had this before. So we could be ready to vote, but the suggestion is to fail it so we can get a new one that would be more appropriate. Any questions or discussion? Okay, Mr. Clerk.
Okay, so we are voting on the approval of Resolution 2024-010. Kreitz,
No.
Calhoun,
No.
Finch,
No.
Osenga,
No.
Wells,
No.
and Barnwell,
No.
and Mayor McClure.
No.
Okay, that resolution has failed.
We so rarely do this. It's kind of exciting to get to all say no once in a while. So now, what do you want to talk about what might be coming up that
Yes.
we're going to direct you to?
So to clarify, when this was initially brought up, we were moving forward with this option to have our own RMS CAD system, but Councilmember Kreitz recommended that we look into a more cost-effective measure of joining with the Soldotna Dispatch. And just to clarify, that's just joining under their RMS system, not so we would still be our own dispatch center on that system, but utilizing their software and being able to work collaboratively under that for a more cost-effective price. And then alongside the chief and the administration, we've looked into that and are still tweaking some final numbers there, but we plan on bringing forward a resolution that has that rather than this option. And because of some code where if a resolution is defeated by council, the same or substantially similar resolution cannot be introduced for 90 days following that vote, we need your permission to bring back something substantially similar.
Okay. So the recommendation would be to recommend or give permission to administration to bring back this new resolution. Is there pretty much approval for that? This isn't like we're voting on that, that we'll have to see it first. Okay, are we all in agreement to do that? Okay, I think you have direction then.
Thank you.
So now it brings us all the way down to other new business. And the first item is to appoint an applicant to the Planning and Zoning Commission with terms set to expire February 2026. We have two applicants, John Weissel and Claire Sullivan. You can see about that on page 53. We have a voting sheet here. And with your permission, yes.
Madam Mayor, I need to declare a
Councilmember Calhoun.
conflict of interest on this and recuse myself,
And
because I'm the spouse of one of the...
thank you. I was going to ask you to explain that. This isn't a financial situation, but I believe there is a pretty much implied conflict here, so we won't let you vote, okay? I agree with that. Any objection to that? Okay, so if you want, we've got the little sheet. What you need to do is X one of them and sign. Be sure you sign. This is public record once this is done, and we will pass them down towards the clerk. I'm using my signing pen. And we'll have 1, 2, 3, that's appropriate. I'm just making sure he didn't vote, okay? There were only 3.
Still here.
Okay, just for the public. Since, yeah. Okay, Mr. Clerk, if you would please read the results when you get a chance.
Okay, I have 6 vote slips here, and I'll just read out the results. Claire Sullivan, Claire Sullivan, Claire Sullivan, Claire Sullivan, Claire Sullivan, and Claire Sullivan.
Well, okay. It looks like Claire Sullivan's back on planning and zoning. She tried to get away and then she got bored or something and she came back. For the audience, I see her there, that's why I'm saying that. So I'm not speaking behind her back. Okay, congratulations and thank you for stepping up. Okay, secondly, discuss ADA access for fishing. There's some information starting on page 56, and this was brought to us by Councilmember Finch. And so I'm just going to turn it over to you to talk about this and see what you'd like us to
Thank you, Madam Mayor. About 8, 9 years ago, this was brought before the prior council administration, and it was deadheaded. Nothing happened. The individual that brought it forward never heard back from them. With the cost of inflation, shore fishing is becoming more and more popular for a lot of people across the state. And as Seward's a first-class home rule city, when you search for handicap accessibility, we're the only one that's not on this list by Fish and Game. We should be putting in moving rocks over there at Spring Creek so they can have access with wheelchairs or four-wheelers. We should have a floating dock down here by the Culvert Beach. We should make the waterfall more accessible. I personally would like to see the railroad let us use the east side of the old coal dock to pier fish off of. And there's a lot of people in town that feel the same way about it. But I would like to see us get on this before ADA comes in and tells us what we're doing. Because we are not in compliance with any disability access for fishing in Seward.
So, discussion from council? I know this individual has brought this up repeatedly about across the bay access. And it might be simple enough in that one area just to, I don't know about fishing. So, but without having to create pavement or things, I mean, what do you think, Councilmember Finch?
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Just for that one specific. let's
Well,
say.
for Spring Creek, moving the rocks would definitely help a lot of people that elderly that want to get
These are
down there.
Big rocks,
Yeah,
right?
the big rock that they put up to block, I mean, I like the Seward Police Department's philosophy now, deal with the individual, don't punish the whole, like with the four-wheelers driving in town, you know, they're license registered, they're good to go. I know in the past, Spring Creek and 4th of July have had issues. Deal with the individual, not make the public pay, but we're restricting handicap and elderly access to the beaches for fishing there. I sat last year and watched multiple disabled people struggling to get down to the beach just to snag for silvers. I'd love to see some type of a concrete down, going from the parking lot down to where they can at least get to the beach. I'd like to see a floating dock by the culvert or between the Sea Life Center and the monument. And the waterfall road access be where people can actually drive down and fish there. Because I know there's big talk of this year about filing a complaint with ADA and DAV, and I don't think we really want them telling us exactly how much we're gonna spend on this.
The waterfall area is going to be impacted by whenever they get to building the tunnel, so
Yeah.
that might have to hold. Is there interest amongst council to see if the administration can come up with something to do across the bay? I mean,
I'm in full support of it. I think it's a
Well,
great
that'd be
idea.
a
And
place to
if it's
start.
something that we have the ability to do,
it shouldn't be too.
we should
us.
get right on it. I think it's a great idea. Thank you, Councilmember Finch.
Yeah,
I mean,
Yeah,
go ahead.
and I don't know about with the coal terminal dock, but I mean, it would be great to have a pier fishing, because you can catch cod over there, halibut, the silvers when they're in, but pier fishing on the east side, leave the west side of it. That would be, I think, the city approaching.
We're in pretty much constant contact with Christy Terry and the railroad and such, so that question we can make come up and just see, and I can report, or city manager could report back if that's, it may not be a possibility because there has been talk of using that dock by,
Right.
you know, so
just
who knows, but
throwing
it
it
can't
all out
hurt to ask.
Because
You know?
dock fishing is a lot of fun.
Yeah, Councilmember Calhoun.
and Madam Mayor, I think it's a good idea, it's a good discussion to have, and maybe, I don't know if it's a work session worthy yet, but maybe we could look into what funding sources, there's gotta be ADA grants and funding sources available for things like that, because it definitely would be a good thing to have in Seward and make some fishing more accessible to more people.
Do we want to make this into a work session request, or just start with directing administration to see what they can come up with across the bay? I mean, hold on, I'll ask administration.
Yeah, let's see what we can come up with first, and then following that with other discussions that we're gonna have after this, maybe it is appropriate in a few months to have a full work session about the subject.
You could report back.
Yeah, I can report back and we can go from there.
Is that okay? Councilmember Finn.
Because not only would this help the local disabled ones fish or access, but the amount of money we lose just in the summer for visitors that are going to Kenai. I was over there this weekend with my grandkids and watching disabled people fishing from the docks. And I'm like, that's money that could have been sitting over here for silvers. You know, I mean, I understand the reds at McDonald's, but
Yeah,
promote the silver, let's promote it fully.
Okay, so do you understand the
Yes, of
direction
course.
here? And I'll try to get a hold of Christie and ask her that question.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you for bringing that
Thank you.
up. I think it's really important. Okay, and then the last item is brought to us by Vice Mayor Osenga, and he wanted us to discuss ADA access at City Hall, and there's some information on page 67.
Yeah.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My main concern as far as the ADA access to City Hall was actually about the parking and the condition of the parking that we have where our ramp goes to up on the parking lot back up over here. It's a gravel kind of a parking lot. I think in the wintertime, it's a little bit tricky to maneuver around and over with ice and snow and rock. So I was just trying to figure out if maybe we can look at improving that situation, that parking side anyways.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Osenga. We actually have just recently received an initial quote, not a full quote, so I can't be 100% certain on what the cost would be at the end of the day. But we received an initial quote to pave those spots at the top of that ramp for 2 11-foot parking spot spaces with 4-foot buffers on the side, and that would be about $12,000 for us to update that spot. So. Definitely something that we've been looking into for a while since it's been a known issue, but that is the initial quote that we received.
So what do we need to do to suggest that happen?
Suggest that it happens, yeah. It's under the threshold, and I believe that there is some budget wiggle room there, but I think a directive to administration to get that done is always a good thing, and will be taken happily.
Is there any objection to that direction? Sounds like something that needs to be done, and thank you for bringing that up. These are the things, we all get calls and comments from various people, and some things are, it's good to bring up those discussions. Any further discussion on that at this point? Okay, so that was all of our actual business, I believe, right? Okay. Which brings us up, I should mention, our next council meeting will be August 12th. We're back to the second and fourth Mondays. And this takes us to citizen comments. There's no sign up for this time, and you would be allowed a maximum of 5 minutes. And it's the same routine as at the beginning. You would come up and give your name, and if you live inside or outside the city limits, and then you can speak for 5 minutes on any topic. So, just raise your hand and I'll call you up. You can take turns, whichever one wants to come first. Come on up. And, you want to come first? Okay. We have several. And even though we might know you, we need to have your name and if you live inside or outside the city.
My name's Mike Little. I lived here 16 years inside the city. And I was involved with sidewalks being fixed about.
If it's uncomfortable to sit down, you can stand, but if you're standing, can we move the mic a little closer to you, because it's kind of hard to hear.
I was involved
Thank
in
you.
getting the sidewalks fixed about the same time we brought up to fishing 8 or 9 years ago with, I was a volunteer at Trails. And Kevin asked me to come down and say a few words about the lack of disabled access. When Ray was supervisor or boss over at that University of Fairbanks where they do the shrimp and stuff like that, my friend Rollins talked to him and he would let me fish off of that seawall in that pier across the street next to the Sea Life Center. And when JAG first started, I fished on the seawall over there. Those were the only two places of access. I could do it back then. I could sit on my butt and go rock to rock. And it was harder coming back up, but there's no way, if you've got a crutch or a cane, to try and navigate that down to the water without serious injury. So I used to work over at McDonald's for a month out of the year, maybe 5 weeks. And all I did was sit at the gate and collect money and write license plates, so the guys would give me all the fish they wanted, but it's still not as fun as catching. But I appreciate what Kevin's trying to get something to all you guys too. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Come on.
Hello, I am Dion Quitberg, and it's inside city limits. To help in a little way to alleviate some of the pressure of the shortage of housing, I suggest that you listen to how we want to build a cabin on our lot in Forest Acres. And we want a place for our grandchildren to come, work, and experience the area. 2 grandsons worked last summer and had a good experience working. One worked for the city and for the downtown area and did well. And we have 1 grandson now working here for the city and for the restaurant downtown. We would like to, and other of our grandkids are saving their pennies so they can also come up and work. And we'd like to have a place for them to stay if we can build our cabin. As you know, kids grow up fast, and of course when they're enthusiastic at this stage, we don't want to put too many dampers on them. So, and you know how decisions from adults are a little slower than when kids want them. But we're trying to accommodate them as well. So we are working for them and a place for them to stay. We'd like to build our cabin, and Kevin will explain a little bit more about that. So we would ask you what we should do and what we would suggest. We have some ideas, but what can we do to expedite our situation? And of course, if we can always be fair with people who had less means and those who have more means, it would be appropriate for those kinds of things, as we already know that. But that's what our plan is, and Kevin will explain a little bit more about that. And I appreciate you listening to me, and if there's any questions, let me know. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I've gone through this a number of times. I'm right at the 5 minutes, so I've got to hustle with it. So we have property inside the city on the Forest Acres subdivision. My name's Kevin Quitberg. When I received my tax assessment from the borough this spring, I called them to let them know I had a septic system and driveway installed on my property, and it would necessitate an increase in the assessed value of my property. They noted that and said they'd make the necessary changes. I then asked why my assessed value had gone up so much in the intervening year, to which they responded that property values had gone up throughout the borough. I remarked that my property was essentially worthless to me, as I could not get a building permit for a dwelling on my property without access to a city water connection, and that there was no city water connection available. They said, quote, "Why not just drill a well?" "Great idea," I said, "but that still won't get me a building permit." I then told them that I had spent $12,000 on legal expenses in an effort to get the city to understand the fallacies in their zoning restrictions. The tax assessor asked me to email them the back and forth between me and the city, my attorneys, and the city's attorney back to me, which I did. I got a call back in 2 days from the assessor, at which time they said that, quote, "This is the most jacked up thing we have ever seen," unquote. "We will still need to assess the value of your septic system and your driveway, but we're going to drop the assessed value of your property from $78,500 down to $600 and list it as undevelopable. If I lived in the Anchorage Borough, I could drill a well on my 1 acre lot, provided I could demonstrate the state mandated setbacks from both my septic system and my neighbor's septic system, or demonstrate an ability to connect to a sewer main and maintain the setback requirements from a neighbor's septic system. Upon meeting those requirements, I can drill anywhere in the Anchorage Borough, including in downtown Anchorage. Even if there is a water main fronting my property, I can use a well and don't have to connect to the main. I'm using Anchorage as an example because they have the most restrictive drilling regulations in the entire state of Alaska. I drove to Soldotna and got plat maps to show my property boundaries and layout. I took those maps to the water quality engineer for the borough and we went over them together. She could see no reason why wells were not a viable solution given the size of the lots. The City of Seward has taken a position of, quote, strongly disfavoring, unquote, individual water wells in an effort to, quote, protect our aquifer from contamination, unquote. I spoke with Dave Harper of Alpine Drilling, who drilled one of Seward's wells. When I mentioned the city's reasoning on disfavoring individual wells, he said that reasoning is nonsense. He said that all the wells in the Forest Acres subdivision are downslope of the city wells. It is worth noting that under Alaska state water laws, I own the water beneath my property. If I want to have a well drilled on my property, I can do so. The city could pass an ordinance against it, but if they did so, they would be the only village, municipality, or city in the entire state of Alaska to do so. In July of '22, my son and I met with Mr. Jason Bickling to speak about building on my lot. Mr. Bickling expressed the opinion that everyone in that subdivision would need to neighbor with each other to plan building and well and septic locations to maintain setback requirements. That sentiment changed markedly during the winter of '23 when he pointed out to me that, quote, we found during the winter of '23 that almost all of the lots were deed restricted, unquote, and required a connection to city provided water and sewer prior to any building. The words almost all are important here. My lot and 3 adjoining lots are not deed restricted as they were not included in the replat which mandated the city water and sewer connections prior to building. My attorney pointed this out to the city and the city's attorney responded to my attorneys that the city had taken the position that these lots should be viewed, quote, as a whole, unquote, rather than individually. This is a tacit admission that my lot is clear of the replat restrictions. In the meantime, my lot has been cleared and brought to grade. A city-approved septic system has been installed and the city has run power to the lot. On August 9th of '23, I received an eviction notice from my property. That order still stands. It stated, quote, camping for construction purposes will no longer be allowed, and until further notice, we'll be enforcing Seward City Code 15.10.226, subsection I, subsection 2, which states, quote, other than permitted camper parks, camping on privately owned lots as an accessory use to an occupied single-family home is limited to private non-commercial use and for no fee, unquote. My attorney and I both pointed out to city administration that since there is no single-family home on the property, the ordinance quoted has no relevance. The response of the city to this observation is that, quote, that is how we interpret it, unquote. So with electricity installed by the city and the septic system approved by the city, I'm still not allowed to stay on my property. What it boils down to is this: there is no legal, moral, or ethical reason why the city of Seward won't approve my building permit. My initial application was in June of '23 and was denied in August of '23 for the previously listed reasons. For the reasons I have listed above, I believe the city council can help the city administration understand the role they play in the housing crisis.
Thank you. Good timing, huh? Okay, is there anyone else wishing to speak out there in public land? Okay, I'll move it to council and administration comments and responses to citizen comments, and Madam City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have no comment.
Okay, Councilmember Barnwell, I'll start with you.
I'd like to congratulate Claire on getting on the reappointed for the planning and zoning. I attended a meeting last week, and they're starting on you will be starting on the comprehensive plan rewrite or revision, and that's pretty exciting stuff. I encourage the public to get involved with that. I think it's going to be a really interesting endeavor, and I really look forward to actually the next couple of years of getting that done. So thanks for your work. Also for Kellyanne with the small business development group, it's stunning the metrics on there of how well she performs in that role and how much money she's brought into the city of Seward. So congratulations to her. And that's it. Thanks.
Okay, Councilmember Kreitz.
Just the same thing. I'd like to congratulate Claire for the P&Z appointment. Also with Kellyanne, that was very outstanding to see how much just in the 3 years that she's done. And I am also kind of interested in the Kenai Borough, the Kenai Peninsula Borough Airport, where that goes, so.
That would be.
For him bringing that forward, so.
Okay, Councilmember Wells.
Yeah. So definitely would like to thank Claire Sullivan for stepping up. We really do appreciate you. And all the members on the commission there. And thank you to Councilmember Kreitz for saving the city possibly saving us some money by taking a look at the funds that we need to spend. And that's it. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Fitch.
I'd echo the same thing, and I definitely look forward to this Kenai Airport. Hope it pans out, because we all hate going to Anchorage.
Yeah.
Well said. Is that it? Okay, Councilmember Calhoun.
Oh, thank you, Madam Mayor. In response to Quickburg's, I think we've got a work session coming up before too long.
We'll have a discussion item about septics and wells inside city limits at our next council meeting, and then potentially from there planning a work session.
And maybe we can look at making some possible changes to help alleviate some of those issues. I think that would be a great discussion to have. Kenai Airport stuff could be very exciting for all of us. If we can save a trip to Anchorage sometimes, that's not a bad thing. And I will also congratulate Claire Sullivan on being reappointed to the Planning and Zoning Commission. If anybody was wondering, that was the spouse that I accused myself of. And I'm excited about some of the upcoming discussions. The ADA fishing accessibility, I think, is going to be a good thing to have, and some of the information going back on these other work sessions we've had will be good. Thank you.
Okay, Vice Mayor Osenka.
Well, the standard, welcome back, Claire, P&Z. Great job, Kellyanne. I do have some kudos to give out in general to our neighbors to the north in Moose Pass. I had some family members driving down to Seward, and they had some problems with their motorhome, so they were not exactly able to make it to their destination, but they did make it to Moose Pass. And they were able to find some accommodations for them in their motorhome in Moose Pass, and the people of Moose Pass were very kind and actually helped them see the exciting things to do in the area of Moose Pass. So they had a great time. You know, bad news about the motorhome, but they had a lovely time in Moose Pass, so great job, Moose Pass.
That's it? Okay, well, I'll echo just about everything. Congratulations, Claire. It's good to have you back. I really appreciate what Parks and Rec, the rec part especially, they're doing, you know, the activities, and it'll be good to have AvTech back open. It is summer, so I know their usership goes down in the summer, but I still think that's really, really good work. And yeah, we've got some new topics coming up. I think we're going a bit outside the box, and I think this is kind of exciting where we're heading with the particular council we have. And remember that our next meeting on August 12th will be 12 days into the filing period for council. So if anyone out there is interested, and you have to live in the city limits, you have to have lived within the city limits for a year, correct, Mr. Clerk, to file for council. So that is a factor. And with that, this might be a record. I'm going to, unless there's anything else, no. Okay, I'm going to adjourn us at 8:03.